So mental health things are like LGBTQ+ things for the most part. They're not like coinciding perfectly everything. They're not. No. But like a couple words of advice. I know I was saying that earlier. Always talk to more than one person. Never just go to one lesbian and get all your information from one lesbian. Like, no, don't do that. Try to get your information from a couple people that identify as a lesbian. Some people are non-binary identify as a lesbian. Some people that are, you know, some people are, oh my god, my brain. Okay, male to female, transgender people identify as lesbian. Straight, no, cis people identify as lesbian. Like, get a different variety of people, and then even within those like subcategories, get like a second opinion on things. Because just because one person says, oh, that's a horrible thing to say, never say that, doesn't mean everyone else thinks that. Some people think one way, other people think another way. So same thing with mental health. It is different for each individual person. Every single identity in the LGBTQIA+ like community, every single identity in that is a spectrum. Everything is a spectrum. Even mental health things are a spectrum. There is a scale, basically. So it like goes 1 through 10. There's not an actual number. You don't have to put a number on it. It's fine. It doesn't matter. But it's a spectrum. It is like not linear. Well, I mean, it's not linear either. But it's not like, oh, bisexuality, that means you equally like men and women equally. Or like multiple different genders equally. Like, no. And pansexuality, granted, this is just for me, so let me back up. Bisexuality means 2 or more genders. 2 or more genders could mean you're attracted to women and non-binary individuals. Could mean you're attracted to men and non-binary people. Could be that you're attracted to men and women. Could be that you're attracted to men and gender fluid people. Could be a mass majority of things, not just male and female, the binary. Bisexual doesn't always have to deal with the binary. And it's also 2 or more genders. There was a whole big ass debate about that a couple years ago, but still, bisexuality is 2 or more genders. Pansexuality is all genders. Not giving a shit what the fuck is in your pants, just being like, you cute, you cute. Now, I identify as both bisexual and pansexual, just because to me personally, and this is just a me thing, this is not a factual definitional thing, but for me personally, bisexuality and pansexuality for me, and only me, is interchangeable. It means the same thing. Bisexual, I don't care what the hell your gender is. Pansexual, guess what? I don't care what the hell your gender is. If I find you attractive, I will find you attractive. Now, that being said, I am also demisexual, which is on the asexual spectrum. So asexuality is having little to no sexual attraction for people. So what's demisexuality? Demisexuality is needing to have an established relationship with that person in order for sexual attraction to develop. So for me personally, I need to know someone for like a couple of years, get to know them as like a really good friend, maybe even as a partner, but I need to like get to know them as a person and fall in love with their like personality. Falling in love does not always mean romantic, okay? Not using it in the term of like love, romance, I just mean like really loving their personality and who they are. Then sexual attraction may occur. Sometimes it doesn't. Demisexuality just means a connection needs to be established before sexual thoughts even come up. Now, here's another thing that I don't really talk about that much. I'm also demi-romantic, which is on the aromantic spectrum, which is basically pretty much the same thing as demisexual, but with romantic feelings. So aromanticism is having little to no romantic feelings for others. That doesn't always just mean that someone just doesn't care about you and only wants to fuck you. Like, no, they can still care about you and they can still have love for you. It's just not romantic. It's just not the, like, partnership, romantic, dating relationship of love that we're used to hearing. It's not romantic. They can still love. And same with asexual people. They can still want sex. They still will, like, masturbate and everything like that. Being asexual doesn't mean you're repulsed by sex. There's a great person that I follow on Twitter who is a great, like, advocate for asexuality and aromanticism, and they're amazing. Don't know their pronouns. I think it's a she, they. Like, I mean, the pronouns are she, they, but I don't know. I'm pretty sure, but I can't remember. I digress. They're amazing. They're a model. I love them half to death. I can link her. Well, since I'm gonna post this on YouTube, I can link it down below, but I'm also gonna link it in chat. Just asexual model, I'm sure. Yep, she'll just pop the fuck up. Yasmin Benot? Never said that. Where's your Twitter, sweetheart? Or did you deactivate your Twitter again? Because people are really fucked up to them. Okay, well, you have an Instagram. But you have a Twitter, and I know you do, because I follow you on Twitter. Yeah, they're a lingerie model. Which, a lot of people don't know this about me. I am too. I just don't talk about it that much. There it is. Because it's taboo and I don't really want— oh my god, why would you do this? You Twitter and Google. Google is stupid sometimes. Okay, she, her, okay. Did not know that. I couldn't remember, I should say. Okay, so that is her Twitter. I mean, her Instagram. And that is her Twitter. She is a great resource for asexuality and demisexuality, aromanticism. She's amazing. So there's that. But aromanticism, being aromantic, is having little to no romantic feelings. That doesn't mean you don't love people and you don't care about people. It just means you don't have a romantic, dating-like love for people. That doesn't also mean that someone's just going to use you just to fuck you, because they still probably care about you. And that doesn't also mean that they won't date or get married, possibly. But demi-romantic, which I am, is basically the same thing as demisexual, just with the romantic feelings, which is like, I have to get to know you before I'll start wanting— not wanting, but before I'll start having romantic feelings for you. So, like, you know, like, everything— I think everything should start out as a friendship before you jump into dating, just in general. But still. Now, a lot of people will argue like, oh, well, everyone's like that. In all actuality, no, not everyone is like that. There are some people that are what is called— I can't remember exactly what it's called, but there is a sexuality that is like a sexual identity that is basically the opposite of asexuality, which is like you find everyone sexually attractive immediately. That's just a thing. Some people have those feelings, and that's perfectly fine. It's valid. And same with aromanticism. There's a thing— I can't remember what it's called, but it's the opposite, where they find everyone romantic. Like, they immediately see someone, talk to them for like a minute, and then immediately they have a crush on them and they want to date them. Most people that have this kind of try to like be nice about it and calm about it and flow about, at least the romantic part of it. The sexuality part, you can do whatever you want. As long as you're safe, I don't give a shit. But that is that. Now, my other identity. I am also non-binary, which non-binary is just gender non-conforming. But also, gender non-conforming and non-binary is also in two different categories. Non-binary basically is just not on the binary. So, gender is also a spectrum. So, there's that spectrum of male, female, blur de blur kind of thing. But then there's also being non-binary, transgender, on the, like, a gender spectrum. There is a whole spectrum. So gender non-conforming is a term that you can use if you don't really know what identity you want to go with. Now granted, here's another thing, a full-on disclaimer. Disclaim the fucker. I really have only been educating myself on gender for the past year. I don't know everything. Again, I am not a professional. I am just some dumb bitch with a Twitch channel and a YouTube channel, likes to post videos and talk about shit. That's all I am, okay? Now, with being non-binary, there is a mass majority of people who are different. Each individual person is different. For me personally, if you exclamation point pronouns, did I spell that right? I think so. Of course I didn't. No, I did, haha! Okay, that link, the pronouns.page /@DevinLene, brings you to a page that lets you know everything I'm okay being called. So some people that identify as non-binary are perfectly fine being called dude, man, lady, bro, and everything like that. Other people that identify as non-binary, such as myself, don't really like those gendered terms. I don't really like when someone calls me man or someone calls me, well, I don't mind dude, but like when someone says like, oh man, or like, hey man, excuse me. I don't really like that. I don't like when someone says like, oh, you're such a girl, you're a lady, you're this, you're that. Like, I don't like being identified with gendered terms. The only gendered term I'm okay with is dude. Because to me, and ever since I was a kid, that's never felt gendered for the most part to me. That's just me though. Each individual person, I'll say it a million times, is different. So always ask. And there are pronouns. So what pronouns are basically the word you use in case, the word you use in place of like someone's name. So say you're talking to someone named like Kelsey, and Kelsey uses she, her pronouns. Instead of saying like, oh yeah, Kelsey and I went to the store, Kelsey got these new pair of shoes, Kelsey looked really good in the new pairs of shoes, you could say, oh, Kelsey and I went to the store, she got a new pair of shoes, she looked really good in those shoes. You understand? So there are several different kinds of pronouns, especially with neopronouns being a thing in the semi-newer years. So the main pronouns are she, her, he, him, and they, them. Now, a lot of people get confused, and some people are a bigot about it, and some people are just genuinely confused. When you're genuinely confused and you're not an asshole, you're fine. When you're being an asshole and you're being like, I'm confused, and you're using it as an excuse, that's when you're an asshole. They, them is not something that is only for plural, or only for a group of people. They, them is the pronouns I use. I also use a neopronoun, but I'll get to that later. They, them is a pronoun that you use actually in day-to-day life and you don't even realize you use it. You use it when you don't know that person's name and you don't know their gender, which is why a lot of people say, oh, their, T-H-E-I-R. I don't know their gender. I don't know their name. Oh, they left their umbrella. A lot of people use it and they don't even realize that they've used it. And like the argument, like when someone's actually trying to argue and they're not like, wait, that's confusing, I'm sorry, what? But when they're actually trying to argue about it and say like, oh, well, no, that's for plural things. It's like, no, in your day-to-day life, you use it without even fucking realizing you use it. You're just trying to be an asshole. So, they, them is they, them, theirs, he, him, his, she, her, hers. Okay? Now, getting into neopronouns, I'm not going to get thoroughly into that because that is a whole realm unto itself, which I don't really know. But I will touch on the few that are popular and that I can actually talk about a little bit. Now, the ones I use are faer, and faer. Pretty sure that's how it is. Which may be a little confusing, and I get that. Fae is basically, in short, it's a neopronoun, which neopronoun means basically like it's a not a pronoun that's like normal. It's neo, it's like new, it's like Neo basically is kind of like, I don't identify as a she, her, or a they, them, or a he, him, but I still am comfortable with pronouns. Now, with all this pronoun talk, I will say, before I thoroughly get into Neo pronouns, not everyone is comfortable with pronouns. There are some people that only ever want their name used, to where you would say, Kelsey and I went to the store. Kelsey got a new pair of shoes. Kelsey looked really good in the new pair of shoes. Kelsey felt really confident in those new pair of shoes. And yeah, it feels a little redundant and it feels a little silly, but that's what makes that person comfortable. And when you don't know that person's name, it's really difficult for you to not use pronouns. So when you meet someone for the first time, try to get it in your head if you feel comfortable doing it. I know it's a little different. Introduce yourself as, hi, my name is blah. I use blah blah pronouns. It's real simple. So, example, hi, my name is Devin. I use they, them pronouns. Now, for a first introduction, I wouldn't necessarily go into like neopronouns unless you only use neopronouns, then 100% do. But for a newer person, that's very daunting and confusing. But if those are the only pronouns you use and you're like, I use they, them pronouns, you fucking say you use they, them pronouns, and if they don't like want to say it or they get a little confused, that's up to you. You could be like nice about it because it's a little tiny bit confusing because it's newer, or you could be like, you're an asshole, bye. That's up to you. That's on your end. But you can also, people also use she, her, and they, them pronouns, so they would be a she, they, or they, she. And with pronouns, like I know a lot of people, especially with the whole pronoun resurgence of people being open about it, they're everywhere on Twitter, on like Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, even probably. Instagram came out with a proper pronoun itself feature where you actually choose your pronouns and it's in your bio, like right next to your name. But before then, it was all in your bio or next to your name in general. A lot of people do that. So you see it, it's in parentheses and it's like they/them. Okay? Now, when you see two of them and you see she, they, or they, she, that order matters and it means something. So whichever one comes first is what they kind of have more preference towards, but they do also like the other one. So say someone is like, oh, I like to go by she, they pronouns. They do prefer she, but they also are okay with being called a they, them, like being referred to as they, them. And then if it is a they, she, that person prefers to be called they, them and be referred to as a they, them, but occasionally calling them a she doesn't matter. So like I have a friend who goes by he, they pronouns. That means he prefers being identified he, him, his, but also likes and doesn't mind they, them. I go by they and fae. So that means I have a more of a preference towards they, them pronouns, but I also do like fae and faer pronouns. Now, granted, here's another thing. The order matters, but also sometimes it doesn't matter. Some people, it's not whatever's first, what they prefer. For some people, and actually I think it's a lot of people, I don't really know, I think it might be 50-50 split. But for some people, say they use she and they pronouns, they want them to be used interchangeably in the equal amount. They don't want it to be one used more than the other. They want it to be equally used. So if you see someone with their pronouns in their bio, somewhere in their name, somewhere in their profile, try to use them as best as you can. And rule of thumb, I would say, use both of them. Don't just use one or the other. Use both of them and try to use them as equally as possible. And unless that person comes up and tells you like, hey, I do like to be referred to as she, her, but I also do prefer they, them. So if you could, that would be nice, you know? So again, it's always an individuality thing. I know it's really hard in this society. A lot of people are really afraid to like speak their mind and talk and like say things and ask questions. But here's the thing, if you want to be a good ally and you want to be a good friend to someone who is a part of the LGBTQ+ community, you have to get comfortable asking questions. You have to get comfortable asking them, hey, I know your pronouns are this, but I want to know which one you prefer. Is there one you prefer over the other, or would you like me to use them interchangeably? my nose. Because it's different for each individual person. And same with like sexual attraction and romantic attraction. Just because I personally, for my demisexuality, have to like get to know someone for about a year before sexual attraction even starts to, oh my god, my nose. Before sexual attraction actually becomes a thing. That does not mean that it's like that for everyone. Some people it's different. Some people demisexuality is only some of the time they get it, and it's not a, I have to get to know you kind of thing. Every individual is different. So if you want to be a good ally, you have to be comfortable and get comfortable asking questions. And you also have to understand how to ask those questions, because some people will get really upset by how you said something. I don't, as long as I can tell that you're not being condescending or rude, and you're just kind of ignorant and you're trying to learn, I 100% will be like, okay, no, I understand. It's a little difficult to explain that here. Like, it's a little difficult to ask that here. Let me tell you. And I will also, if you said it like wrong and you said it a little like offensive, I will tell you in the future, if you want to ask that again to someone else, I would rephrase it to something along the lines of this. Like, I will let you know the like more proper, nicer, PC way of saying it. Now, neopronouns are a whole nother thing that's more newer, but also not as new as you'd think. So I think they came around in like 2016. They started to get popular, I should say, but then they became like really, really popular since like 2019. Again, I might be completely wrong with those years. I don't know 100%. I am not a professional. But neopronouns, there is they, them, and their, which is with a Z or an X. So it is Z, them, their, or Z, them, their. Okay? I'm pretty sure they're pronounced the same based on the research I did. I might be a little wrong about that, but Z, them, their replaces he, him, theirs, or their, or they, them, their, she, her, theirs, hers. You know, it replaces that. There are also many different neopronouns. Neopronouns could be anything. I knew someone that used to go by spinner. That was their pronouns. They preferred to go by spinner. So it would be spin, spinner, and then just spinner again. Now, the pronoun I use is fae, faer, faers. So, with the pronoun I use, that is a neopronoun, that one has a little bit of a meaning behind it. Now, granted, not everyone has this meaning behind it, but overall it does kind of have more of a connotation of a meaning. So, fae, faer, faers. Fae, if you don't know, is fairies. And fairies aren't just the little, like, fluffy, cute, fluffy? No. They're not just, like, pixies or, like, Tinkerbell. They're not like Tinkerbell. Fae represents the whole universe of, like, fairy tale-like creatures. So think, like, gnomes and fairies and pixies and elves and dragons and this and that, like anything and everything you could think of when you've read a fairy tale. Anything. Goblins, unicorns, mermaids, Pegasus, like anything that's like a magical, mystical fairy tale type creature is under the like term of fae. So fae, faer, faers, with that knowledge, is like, oh, okay, you may possibly identify as like a member of the fae or part of the fae or some sort of thing like that. Like, you don't feel fully like human. Okay? Now, for me personally, it does mean that. For me, using fae, faer, faers is because of the fact I identify as half elf, which is why I have the elf ears on. Also, it's a fun stream gimmick, but still, like, I genuinely in my day-to-day life identify as like half elf. Like, I don't feel like I'm fully human. I feel a little outside of that. Does that mean I think I'm better than anyone else? Hell no. I just feel like maybe I was born in a different realm in some way, shape, or form kind of thing. I'm not saying I'm higher than you or better than you or reached a better spiritual level than you. Like, hell no. Hell no. I was born on this realm. I am in this realm of Earth universe. I'm not higher than you. I'm not better than you. I'm not like superior in any fucking fashion. Okay? So, there's also several different kinds of neopronouns. Several different kinds. I just went by the three most popular, and then I gave you an example of a like more out there random one that kind of is like, whoa, that's new. You know? A lot of people also like to use it and its. You know, a lot of people like to use that even. So instead of like, and like, if that person is comfortable and says, hi, I use its pronouns, that is not you belittling them and saying, oh, you're an object. I don't think of you like a human. You're just an object. If that person says, hi, I use those pronouns, or, you know, something like that, or it's in their bio or whatever, that is not you belittling them for using the pronouns that they are asking to be used. Now, that doesn't mean everyone likes those pronouns. And sometimes it is because that person does feel more like an object than a person. But because they're saying, I prefer these, that is fine. Now, not every single time, because of someone wanting to use its pronouns, doesn't mean that they always feel like, or that the 100% always, that person always feels like they're not an object, that they're not a person, they're just an object. Like that, no. But because some people do feel like that, keep it in mind, but also don't, like, I'm gonna say objectify, but I don't mean it in that other kind of way. I mean physically do not be like, you are an object. Like, don't objectify them unless that person wants that. Like, don't be like, oh, you're just an object just because you're using its pronoun. Like, no, they just may feel more comfortable with it. Now granted, I automatically default to they them when I don't know someone's name, or I'm just talking about a like person that I may not know about, or making up a scenario. Not everyone's okay with they them pronouns, and that's a thing a lot of other people can't really wrap their head around. I can't wrap my head around it sometimes, and I'm trying to. Using they them pronouns for everyone isn't actually as inclusive as you think it is. And gender in and of itself is complex as fuck. Okay? I'm just scratching the surface. Okay? Now, I'm gonna talk about one other thing that I have had someone ask very politely, and something that I think would be a question that would come up for someone that either is questioning whether or not they don't feel like, whether or not they identify as like non-binary or gender non-conforming, or if someone just is trying to learn. Like, what do you use when you want to use a name of honor such as Mr., Mrs., Miss, Mrs., Mistress, and things like that? Like, what would you use for someone who's gender non-conforming, non-binary, uses they them pronouns, does not identify as a she or a he or a boy or a girl, but identifies as just like a person with no gender? How do you address them in a more like polite, honorific way? Some people don't like it. I am one of those people that do not like to be addressed in that way, so for me it's don't. Point blank, don't. Like, if you don't know my name, hey you, hey dumb bitch, it'd be nice. But still, like, for me, I don't like when someone says like Mr., Miss, or anything like that towards me. I've never liked it. It's always made me uncomfortable. And in my newfound in my like journey towards my identity, I have realized I don't like that. I don't want to have an honorific title. Some people do. So for those people that do, again, ask them, hey, what can I talk to you? How can I address you in an honorific, respectful way? And if they don't know, or they were like, huh, I never thought of that. That's a thing. Some people don't know. then you just ask them again, and they might update you if they're your friend, and they'll talk to you, okay? But here is like one example that is the only one I've really been able to find, which is mix, which is literally an X. So that it replaces miss or Mr. So it replaces miss, Mr., Mrs. Like it replaces that. If you want it to be Mrs., you can go mixes. Hold on. MXS. Sorry, dyslexia. You can make it that if you want it to be like Mrs. Like, you know, Mrs. and Mr. kind of thing. You can use mixes and mix kind of thing. But not everyone likes that. I don't like that. So I would much rather you just call me Devin or not address me at all, because it's a chat thing here. More than likely you're addressing me. And please, if you are addressing someone else in chat, use the reply feature so I know you're not talking to me. Because otherwise I might get a little confused and read it and be like, oh, you're talking about the other person, never mind, kind of thing. And sometimes it's annoying. But honestly, you don't have to. I'm just saying, like, if you think of it, please use the reply feature if you can. Or like at that person that you're talking to, so I know if you're not really replying to me. Granted, I do have one little rule in my Twitch chat that might be a little abnormal, which is don't have a full-on like conversation off topic with some other person in chat. That's a little weird. Like, you can have a conversation about something that's on topic of something we were talking about with someone else in chat, but don't be like randomly checking in with your friend in my chat. Like message them privately for that. It's a little weird. I digress. I don't think that's like a weird rule, but I've never really seen that written out. I don't have it written out because it feels a little weird. I digress. So that's just a little rundown, real short rundown on gender and gender identity. There's so much more. It is such a big, vast majority of everything. But that is just the minority little bit I can give you for gender non-conforming stuff, what pronouns are, and a little bit of what sexuality is, asexuality, and like aromanticism, romantic attraction, sexual attraction, you know? So that's pretty much all I can think of to explain like gender stuff. I can go a little more into like, you know, sexual attraction, sexual identity, and romantic identity, but I kind of feel like I already touched on that enough that I don't really need to go deeper unless you like really want to deep dive and do your own research, because I cannot answer everything because I am just one human and one person. Okay, so that is that. Now, there's another thing I wanted to talk about in regards to LGBTQ+ stuff, and I can't remember what the fuck it was. Oh, right. Do I have that on my computer or is it on my phone? It's on my phone. I have a graphic that's gonna make me remember shit, so. Uno momento, even though I'm still fucking here. Hello. Pretty sure I could maybe find it. Aha! All you have to do is look up gender identity graphic and there's multiple that pop up. Here, let me stretch that a little bit so it's not like right the fuck there. Okay, so with this graphic, it kind of explains in general gender, very general, very like overall kind of terminology. It's not like everything and anything, but it does show you the spectrums. It shows you the, like, what different things are. So, I have to, like, figure out. Okay, so, here, you can see my mouse, right? Pretty sure I made that. Hold on, I'm gonna double check to make sure this is all correct. Capture my cursor, yes, okay. So, okay. Just for now, so you can actually see my head. So, you can actually see, okay. So, with this identity, that is how you feel in your brain. That is your identity. So how you identify, how you gender-wise identify, how you feel instead of how you are perceived. Okay, so identity is not the same as sex. Sex is your biological sex, as it says here. So your identity based on exactly what this says, is gender identity is how you in your head think about yourself. It is the chemistry that composes you. It's your hormonal levels and how you interpret what that means. So here's the thing a lot of people don't know, which I didn't touch on earlier, which I wanted to. So this just reminded me, which is why I wanted this graphic. This isn't the exact graphic. It's a newer graphic because of the whole the fucking genderbread, haha, but the whole gingerbread person and people fucking went crazy over it, which I love this. I digress. So what gender identity is your hormonal level, hormonal, I can't say that word 100% accurately. You know what I'm trying to say though. The feeling that you have in your brain that's hormonal, that's your chemical balance telling you, the chemistry and your chemical balance telling you this is how you feel, and this is also how you interpret it. So here's the thing that a lot of people don't know. Gender is not just two hormones. It's not just estrogen and testosterone. It's not just two hormones. There are several hundred different hormones and chemicals that make up gender. There are more than just two chromosomes. There's not just X and Y. There are more than just two chromosomes. There are just like certain types of chromosomes and like the mix match. Oh, I've never been able to say that properly. But the mix of them together that equals certain body parts. But your gender identity is not your biological sex. Sex and gender are two different things, okay? So, with gender expression... Hold on. Oh, the wrong one. Do I have that? Good. Okay, good. Okay. Sorry. So, with gender expression, which is how you express yourself, which is obviously how you are outwards, which there's a feminine, masculine, and androgynous, okay? Androgynous is being in the middle, which is neither feminine, neither masculine, just trying to like dress as non-gendered as you can, which is kind of how I dress. Sometimes I dress feminine, sometimes I dress masculine. My gender expression very much was fluid. But gender expression is how you physically express outward your identity. So, gender expression is how you demonstrate your gender based on traditional gender roles through the way you act, dress, behave, and interact. That is what this says. Now, just because someone is acting feminine does not mean that they identify as a woman. Just because someone is acting more masculine does not mean that they identify as a man. Just because someone identifies as a man doesn't mean that they have to be masculine. Just because someone identifies as a woman doesn't mean they have to be feminine. Just because someone identifies as gender non-conforming, gender queer, or non-binary does not mean that they owe you any androgynous or androgynistic features or expression. No one owes you a fucking thing. If you don't know what their gender is, ask them. And if you're afraid to ask them, get comfortable asking people things. Point blank. Now, biological sex, again, is different than gender identity. Gender and sex are different. So, gender is your hormonal level, gender identity, and gender is your hormonal levels that's in your mind and your everything like that that makes you feel a certain way. It's the chemistry and the chemical balance in your mind that makes you feel X, Y, and Z, or A, B, and C. Now, biological sex is the physical organs and the sexual organs you have in general. So, that is your organs, your hormones that relate to sex, not gender, and chromosomes. Now, this is correct, but also there are more than just two chromosomes, alright? So, two X chromosomes is having a vagina and ovaries. X and Y chromosomes. Wait. Yeah, X and Y chromosome is having, you know, the peen and testicles, and then having a combination of the two, which you'd think X and Y is a combination of the two, right? This is why a lot of people get so confused what the hell biological sex is, because there's more than just those two chromosomes. But those two chromosomes are what make up the physical organ that our body has. It's a combination of the chromosomes and the hormones that make up our physical organs. So here it might be a little confusing because this gender identity thing says your hormone levels, and then down here it also says biological sex is also your hormones. So that's the same thing. So it's the same thing. But what people miss is that biological sex also has to do with the organs and the chromosomes. And a lot of people also miss that there's more than just two chromosomes, and there's more than just two hormones that make up gender and biological sex. There are scientists that are finding there are over hundreds of them. Over, like, I think 300 the number was? I can't remember, do not quote me on that. I know it's over hundreds. I know it's over 100. That make up everything. So there's more than just two chromosomes. There's more than just X and Y. There's one that I think they were trying to call Z that they didn't really know yet. There's so many more hormones than just estrogen and testosterone. There's more than just two of almost everything. But our human mind has been conditioned to know this or that for so long that our society kind of refuses to understand more than just two. Now, hopefully that's all made sense. So gender identity is not the same as biological sex. Biological sex is the physical organ you have. Your gender identity is how you mentally feel based on your hormones and your chemical balance and chemistry in your body. Now, sexual orientation is different than your biological sex and your gender identity, which is why someone can be non-binary and bisexual, but also be like biologically a male. Okay? So, sexual orientation is heterosexual, homosexual, bisexual, pansexual. There's several others, but those are the main four. That's just the most popular ones, okay? There's millions of different sexual orientation. Now here it's also not talking about romantic orientation, which is a totally different thing. And I would say also kind of is in your heart, but it's different. And that one has like you having romantic attraction and having sexual attraction and then not having it and not having it at all, to where that there's two different sections here. So there's two that they're missing, which is sexual attraction and romantic attraction. But this is just gender, okay? And sexual orientation is just to let you know that is different than what gender is, okay? So here it says sexual orientation is who you are physically, spiritually, and emotionally attracted to, based on their sex, gender, in relation to your own. In your relation to your own, I don't think that fucking matters, but yeah. So this is right, but also kind of wrong. You know, it's not like wrong, it's just different, okay? Different than how I would say and different how other people would say it. Not that it's wrong necessarily, it's just very different, okay? Now, again, it's missing two crucial things: romantic attraction and sexual attraction. Just because I identify as bisexual and pansexual, a lot of people get confused by that and they're like, oh, well, okay, that means you are like sexually and romantically attracted to all genders. And it's like, yes. There's a but there though. There's like a however. So while I am bisexual, pansexual, I am also demisexual and demiromantic, which means while I can find both male, female, non-binary, genderqueer, gender fluid, non-conforming people attractive in a sexual sense, In order for me to have that sexual attraction, I need to get to know them as a person and get close to them in order for me to have that attraction. Now, a lot of people, this is a personal thing. I can be attracted to you, but not have any sexual desires. I could be attracted to you and not have any romantic desires. A lot of people can't really wrap their head around that. I digress. So, while I honestly feel like bisexuality and like heterosexuality, homosexuality, pansexuality, and all those like sexualities should be changed a little bit, because there is sexual attraction and romantic attraction, which is different than sexual orientation. You know? So that's where it gets a little complicated, but we're not gonna go there. We are gonna talk about the romantic attraction and sexual attraction, because that is different than the sexual attraction. The sexual orientation, honestly, it should just be your orientation, not necessarily your sexual orientation, because when you put that in words, people think, oh, that means you just want to have sex with everyone that's this, and it's like, well, no. You know? So, to me, sexual orientation is more of people that you are attracted to, that you are potentially attracted to, like, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. It's a potential attraction. Now, then there comes the whole romantic attraction and sexual attraction that kind of lets you know how you can have that attraction. Because there's something I don't really like talking about because it makes me feel like I'm a really bad person. But when it comes to, like, females, I do not have a romantic attraction to them, but I have a sexual attraction to them. So when we get into that kind of nitty-gritty stuff of, like, specifics, then it comes to terms with a thing of like, oh, I am attracted to these kind of people in this kind of way, but these kind of people in that kind of way, to where that it's like, well, this, it's just a lot. So I don't really get into it that much. It also makes me feel like a really bad fucking person. And I also don't 100% know if that's accurate, because I've only been with women, like cis women, a couple of times. So I honestly don't know. But this is a good general overall. It's not the greatest general overall. I feel like it's a tad outdated. But this really lets you know gender identity, gender expression, biological sex, and sexual orientation are not just two. They're very, very, very different things. Okay? Identity is how you feel mentally. Orientation is how you like feel towards people and how you are attracted to people. Biological things are like physical organs. Your expression is how you like demonstrate yourself and like express yourself outside. Okay? So hopefully that all makes sense. If you want, the QR code's like right below me. Whoop. So if you want a QR code and read more, you may do so. It's pronounced metrosexual, which there are so many more sexual identities than just like those, which is, and like bisexual, I don't really necessarily agree that's in the middle, because there's also some people that are just not attracted to anyone, and there's also people that are kind of more attracted to just themselves. It's like autosexual, I think. Like, there are several different kinds of sexualities. Sorry. several different kinds of sexuality, several different kinds of gender. I am just scratching the surface, okay? Just like the bare minimum surface of it all, okay? So, with all of that being said, I think it is time that I bid you adieu, because I have talked about everything I can talk about. So, again, if you haven't drinking water, drink some water. If you haven't eaten food, go eat some food. If you haven't taken your medicine, it might be a little too late, it might be really early for you, I don't know. Take some medicine so that you're healthy and you're okay. Okay? You know, if you are someone that can and you like to, do some meditation. Do like a 5-minute, small little mini meditation to calm down and relax. I possibly might see you tomorrow on Twitch. Twitch.tv/TheDraconicElf. Should be linked down below for the YouTubes. I also have my coffee shop, which is conveniently showed right here. Which has a lot of different kinds of different readings that I offer. because I do tarot readings. I also do ancestor summoning rituals. So if you'd like to get a message from an ancestor, the ancestor doesn't have to be someone from like way back. It could be someone that you just met, like a grandpa, could be your mom, kind of thing. Like ancestor is just someone you are related to that has died. That's all it is. So if you would like that, coffee, go to my coffee. My shop has, you know, my normal, my shop has every kind of reading. And then if you want same day readings, like a rush order kind of thing within 24 hours, that is on my commissions. And now on my coffee, I also have memberships now. So if you would like to join my Discord community, which right now this is the only way you can for the rest of this year probably, you can join my Discord community for as little as $3.33 and you get early access to my weekly and monthly readings that I do. You get access to the Discord server. And there's other tiers where you can actually get access to some other things. You also get discounts for my same day readings. 30% discounts for my same day readings. For whenever the hell you want a reading and you want it same day, 30% off. Pretty damn good. So, with all of that being said and all the promos, if you're on YouTube, remember to like and subscribe. And follow me on Twitch and follow me on Twitter. Always at TheDraconicElf. Everything now is cohesively TheDraconicElf. I will see you later. Okay? So, you be nice and you behave.